जय जशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। पंचतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यां नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। तप्तकाञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमस्तुते। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Bhāgavata, 3rd Canto, 31st chapter, verse 44. जीवो हि अस्यानुगो देहो भूतेन्द्रिय मनोमयः तन्निरोधो अस्य मरणम् आविर्भावस्तु संभवः। जीवो हि अस्यानुगो देहो भूतेन्द्रिय मनोमयः तन्निरोधो अस्य मरणम् आविर्भावस्तु संभवः। जीवो हि अस्यानुगो देहो भूतेन्द्रिय मनोमयः तन्निरोधो अस्य मरणम् आविर्भावस्तु संभवः। जीवो यस्य देहो भूतेन्द्रिय मनोमय तन्निरोधो अस्य मरणम् आविर्भावस्तु संभवः। जीवो हि अस्यानुगो देहो इन्द्रिया मनोमयः तन्निरोधस्य मरणम् आविर्भावस्तु संभवः। जीवो यस्यानुगो देहो भूतेन्द्रिय मनोमयः तन्निरोधस्य मरणम् आविर्भावस्तु संभवः। जीव हि अस्यानुगो देहो भूतेन्द्रिय मनोमयः तन्निरोधस्य मरणम् आविर्भावस्तु संभवः। Jivaha, the living entity. He, indeed, asya, of him. Anugaha, suitable. Dehaha, body. Bhuta, gross material elements. Indriya, senses. Mana, mind. Maya, made of. Tat, of the body. Nirodha, destruction. Asya, of the living entity. Maranam, death. Avirbhavaha, manifestation. Tu, but. Sambhavaha, birth. Translation. In this way, the living entities gets a suitable body with a material mind and senses according to his fruitive activities. When the reaction of his particular activity comes to an end, that end is called death. And when a particular type of reaction begins, that beginning is called birth. Purport. From time immemorial, the living entity travels in the different species of life and the different planets almost perpetually. This process is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantrarudhani mayaya. Under the spell of Maya, everyone is wandering throughout the universe on the carriage of the body offered by material energy. Materialistic life involves a series of actions and reactions. It is a long film spool of actions and reactions, and one lifespan is just a flash in such a reactionary show. When a child is born, it is to be understood that his particular type of body is the beginning of another set of activities, and when an old man dies, it is to be understood that one set of reactionary activities is finished. We can see that because of different reactionary activities, one man is born in a rich family, another born in a poor family, although both of them are born in the same place, at the same moment, in the same atmosphere. One who is carrying pious activity with him is given a chance to take his birth in a rich or pious family, and one who is carrying impious activities is given a chance to take birth in a lower poor family. The change of body means a change to a different field of activities. Similarly, when the body of a boy changes into that of a youth, the boyish activities change into youthful activities. It is clear that a particular body is given to the living entity for a particular type of activity. This process is going on perpetually from a time which is impossible to trace out. Vaishnava poets say, therefore, anadi karma phale, which means that these actions and reactions to one's activity cannot be traced, for they may even continue from the last millennium of Brahma's birth to the next millennium. We have seen the example in the life of Narada Muni. In one millennium, he was the son of a maidservant, and in the next millennium, he became a great sage. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So today I want to explain how Śrimad Bhāgavatam fits into the ambit of Vedic knowledge, and these teachings by Kapila Dev and the Śrimad Bhāgavatam comes within it. But before I begin, I want to offer my most respectful obeisances to my spiritual master, Jananivas Prabhu, who was there with me since the beginning of my spiritual life decades ago. And he and Pankajangri Prabhu has been the most merciful to me. And so I'm doing this as a service to you and all other assembled Vaishnavas. The word, have you heard of the word video? What does video mean in English? To see. Wit. What is wit in English? Intelligence. To see, to be intelligent, wit, video. Do you see that similarity in sound? It's similar to the Sanskrit word vid. Vid means wisdom. See, wisdom, vid, video. Veda means the body of wisdom. It is the Vedas are divided by Vyasdev into 4 sections: Rik Veda, Sama Veda, Yajus Veda, and Atharva Veda. Right? They're the 4 Vedas. The Rik Veda is the oldest, consists of 10 mandalas or kind of sections. And they contain hymns to Indra, Mitra, Varuna, Pushana, Vak, for example. Right? Now, have you heard of the English word voice? Do you hear a similarity between voice and Vak? Vach. It's the same thing. To speak, speech is Vaka in Sanskrit. Right? When the verses of the Rig Veda are taken and put into a song, it is known as psalm. You hear the similarity? Sang, song, psalm. Rig Veda is poetry, Samaveda is music. Yajus Vedas and Atharva Vedas talks about ritual, and by the time you get to Atharvan, there is philosophy. Right? So these are the core Vedic literatures. Now, if you heard of the word wit, video, Veda, and have you heard of the word antenna, anterior, and end? Have you heard of the word end? Anta in Sanskrit is end. So Ved Anta is the end of the Vedas. Right? Vedanta, end of the Vedas. And there in ancient India, there were at least 6 schools of philosophy that accepted the validity of the Vedas, and they are known as Astika schools. Astika is translated as theist, but in the Vedic period, the question of whether God exists or not was a stupid question. It's a foregone conclusion. What is the nature of that God is the big question. Does God exist? Nobody asked. It's a kindergarten level. So, out of the philosophies, there were 6 that accepted the validity of the Vedas. The first is Uttar Mimamsa and Purva Mimamsa. Mimamsa means conclusion. Then comes Sankhya and Yoga. Then Nyaya and Vaisheshika. These are the 6 schools of philosophy that accepts the validity of the Vedas. And there are other schools that did not accept the validity of the Vedas, such as Buddhism. Buddha said Vedas don't matter. Jainism, Charvaka, they didn't accept the validity of the Vedas. The Śrimad Bhāgavatam comes in the line of the Vedanta school of thought. In fact, it is said that Śrimad Bhāgavatam is an expansion of the Vedanta. Why? The first proof is the book starts with the Vedanta Sutra Janmadyasya Yataha. Right? Janma, have you heard of the word Genesis? Beginning, Janma, Genesis is similar, comes from the same root. So Janma means the creation of everything that you see around you. Adi means etc. Asya, of all this, Yataha, from which it is coming. Right? So Janmadyasya Yataha means, let us now, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, let us now ask about Brahman. What is Brahman? One from whom all of this is coming. And the Vedas say, Sarva Khalu Idam Brahman. Sarva, everything, Khalu, indeed, Idam, this is, everything indeed is Brahman. Right? And Sri Krishna explains that in the Bhagavad Gita as, so when you're offering a fire yagya, the fire is Brahman, the ladle is Brahman, the ghee is Brahman, the priest who is offering the sacrifice is Brahman, the act of sacrifice is Brahman by which one attains Brahman. Right? And Srila Prabhupada comments in his translation and purport that it is an act of Krishna consciousness by which one offers, and by this one attains Krishna consciousness. Right? So Vedanta Sutra talks about Brahman. What is Brahman? I want to do a little thought experiment. Ready for a little thought experiment? Any scientists in the house? Any physicists? At least done bachelor's level physics? Okay. Technically speaking, Prabhu Vishnu Prabhu, this wood that we are sitting on is hydrocarbons. That means hydrogen atoms and carbon atoms. Carbon basically means, one atom, it has 12, right? And hydrogen, 1. If you look at the atomic structure, the fact is nobody has actually seen an atom. It is our artist's impression of what an atom must look like that we see and we imagine, oh, atom must look like this. Well, nobody's actually seen an atom. And if you ask any scientist with a basic knowledge of physics, they would say an atom is practically 99% empty space and 1% energy, 0.1% energy. Correct? Okay, so the conclusion is we are actually sitting on 99% empty space. Fact. Okay? Now let's look at who is sitting. Our body, our bones are mostly calcium. Our blood has a lot of iron molecules. The rest of it is mostly hydrocarbons again. Right? And again the same thing, if you look at an atomic level, our body is 99% empty space. So technically, scientifically speaking, we are 99% empty space sitting on 99% empty space. So who is sitting? Do you experience empty space when you're sitting? No. There is something, right? The energy that comes in contact with each other repels, and therefore you have the experience of a body sitting on ground. And right at this moment, this planet is actually spinning at 1,000 miles a second. 1,000 miles a second. Think about that. It's pretty fast. Faster than any car that you will ever drive. Okay? But we have this feeling that we are pretty steady and sitting on steady space. Right? This is Maya. This is why material world, it gives you an illusion everything is stable, everything is okay. Right? Just as Srila Prabhupada explains here, if you go to a movie theater and you see a spool and light passing through it and you see a story happening on the screen, is the story actually happening? No. But we have the experience that the story is happening there while we are sitting and watching. Right? But essentially, if you look at the energy that pervades everything, that energy is called Brahman. The substratum of all energy is Brahman. Right? And so Vedanta talks about Brahman. And Srila Jiva Goswami points out right in the beginning of the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, when he says Janma Adi Asya Yataha, right? You think Janma means the birth of creation, the beginning of creation, right? You know what Jiva Goswami says? Janma is not the beginning of creation. Janma refers to Sri Krishna's birth in Mathura. And Sri Krishna is the living, breathing Vedanta. You look at Sri Krishna, you look at his activities, you understand what Vedanta is all about. So instead of talking about energy and atoms and illusion, all you need to do is understand the activities of Krishna, and you come to the same conclusions as Vedanta. Am I clear so far? Right? Why? Because you could sit on a whole library of theoretical knowledge, or you can come to a state of realized knowledge. Sri Krishna gives the principles and the processes by which we realize Vedanta. But Śrimad Bhāgavatam is not just Vedanta. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that Śrimad Bhāgavatam is a great harmonist, in the sense that it can harmonize the various philosophies that are out there. And so in the third canto, we see a practical example of a harmonization of Vedanta with Sankhya and Yoga. If you look at Vedanta Sutra will say Sankhya, Yoga, they don't cut it. But Śrimad Bhāgavatam blends in everything very well, because Sri Krishna is a great harmonizer. In him, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, all contradictions come to an end. Okay? And so what we are reading today is essentially a part of Sankhya philosophy embedded in Vedanta, explained by the theistic Kapiladeva, right? That says that, hey, and Prabhupada explains that, the thing that you accept to be real and to be permanent, and we were discussing last night, Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying, you spend a lot to keep your body and soul together, but at the end of the day, not my words, he said, It's food for dogs and jackals. Think about it. Right? And in this verse, Srila Prabhupada points out that, and this is my explanation, my realization on this, that if you go around New York City today, you ask random people, where do you go after you die? Don't do this. This is a dangerous city. You will be in a lot of trouble. But if you went around asking people, where do you go when you die? They will say, we go to heaven. That's the better option. Everybody likes to believe they are going to go to heaven, right? But isn't it ironical that everybody wants to go to heaven and nobody wants to die? You know, death is something they will resist with all their might. We have entire healthcare industry and the medical industry set up for that reason. Right? That this planet is millions of years old. Right? What's the age of this planet? I think 7 billion? 7 billion years, out of which human, the species that we define as Homo sapiens, has been around for just a few million, right? I don't know, remember the exact figures. So we are here for a very short time in the history of this planet, and this planet has been for a very short time in the history of the universe, and we think we know everything. That's the first problem we start with. The second is, we think that this experience that we have in our lifetime as this particular person is the most important thing that can happen. We are the hero of our own stories, isn't it? Yeah, this is the nature of the material world. So we are the hero, we are here for a very short time, we think this is permanent, we think everything is stable, we think the stuff that we are looking at is actually physically real, right? Even though there are various ways of looking at this. And the thing we dread the most is death, and death is inevitable. We don't know where we are going after death. There is a vague idea that people go to heaven. They don't know where they want, what heaven is. And wherever that heaven is, it must be very beautiful, and unless you are in a very difficult situation here, you don't want to go there, and you want to live as long as possible, right? So think about it, it's actually a bundle of contradictions. Life here on this planet is a bundle of contradictions. And Sankhya philosophy and Srila Prabhupada points that out. And as we were discussing last night, we get at least 9 luxurious months inside a nice spa, surrounded by fluid. We don't have to eat, the food just comes into our body. Can you imagine? You didn't have to chew, your mouth didn't have a function. All the food came in through your belly button. Right? The devotees there are like, chew. And after 9 months, as I was saying last night, you feel a real estate crunch. And then you come out. And if you are lucky, and this is the mystery nobody knows, that some children are born in a royal family, and then some children are born, and I have lived in Calcutta for the first 22 years of my life, I know this, that there was this hospital called Nilratan Sarkar Hospital, right? And practically every other day, somebody would come and say, oh, baby was found in the trash bin. A baby would be born, and they would leave that baby in the trash bin. If that baby gets discovered and adopted, very good. If it doesn't, okay, another infant died. And who would leave them, Not random people. The person who gave birth would leave them there. And so nobody knows why that happens. None of the people in this room had a single choice in deciding who their parents were, what their ethnicity would be, what their nationality would be. We don't have a choice. But we are just somehow put into it, and this purport explains why. And here is the second thought experiment for today. Okay, ready for a thought experiment? Okay. When I first came to America, I realized that in this country, football doesn't mean what football means in the rest of the world. One of my colleague professors took me to a football game, the first and only one in my life. And I was just witnessing everything, and to my surprise, I saw that people actually pause the games for commercials. Nowhere on planet Earth you stop a game for a commercial. That gave me a sense of what America is about. It's a very commercial place. And if you look at any game, whether American football or global football, okay, just imagine you're going into a football game. You are walking in at the beginning of the game, okay? Ready? You walk into your auditorium, you find yourself a seat, and you think the game is about to begin, and you look at the scoreboard. And you see the scoreboard says 2-1. And you thought the game was just beginning. And you see there is already some score on the scoreboard. And the score is not the same. One team is clearly winning, the other team is losing. What would you conclude? What are the possibilities that the game is beginning, but this game is rigged? One person is winning, one person is losing. How would you explain that? Huh? Either second leg is one option, second half is one option. You think you're walking into a fresh game, but the game has been going on for some time, right? Prabhu, what's your name? Sabyasachi Prabhu. Okay, Sabyasachi Prabhu thinks that you're walking into the middle of a game. There are other options. Huh? It was a previous match score and it's still there by mistake, you're saying? Okay, that's the second option. What's your name, Prabhu? Sri Gopal? Sri Gopal Pran Prabhu thinks there must be another match. They didn't change the scoreboard, it's there. Somebody else's score, not these guys. This game is going to begin even. What other options could there be?
The scoreboard is broken.
The scoreboard is broken. Okay.
There may be a handicap. That's why the scores are different.
There may be a
preset handicap.
What?
A preset handicap.
A preset handicap. So somebody was to give advantage to
One of the teams.
there was some handicap to give advantage to one of the teams. The scoreboard is unfair to begin with. Now, if somebody decided those rules that the scoreboard is going to be unfair to begin with, is that person who decide a fair person? No. So this is one criticism that a lot of atheists say about God, that look at this world, look at the suffering, people are born unequal. How could there be a God in good conscience who can allow that? God is unfair if there is a God. Right? So we have some theories. So one option is, okay, the scoreboard is broken. One option is the referee is unfair. The scoreboard is broken and just deal with it is the scientific explanation. That we are here by chance, this world is unfair, there is nothing you can do about it, deal with it. It's random chance, right? The second option is, hey, the referee decided this, but is it really fair? The third option is, hey, this game has been going on for some time. I might think that I am walking in the beginning of the game, but this is actually not the beginning. I am walking somewhere in the middle of the game, right? Which among the three do you think is the most plausible explanation? Logical. Forget Shastra, forget everything. Which is the most logical? You're walking in the middle of the game. The game has been going on for some time. That is the theory of reincarnation and karma. The other theory says this world is unfair, deal with it. You're not walking, this is the beginning of the game. Right? That is the scientific explanation. That the human consciousness is a byproduct of matter. You're here by chance. You got into this, nobody knows why. deal with it. Okay? To make this unfair system fair, we have created things like socialism and capitalism. Work it out. The second explanation is nobody knows the way God works. God is just unfair. Deal with it. Right? In a way, that is a Judeo-Christian explanation, that nobody knows the mind of God. God works in mysterious ways. God just decided that you're going to be here and that person is going to be there, and the same night somebody is born in a royal family, another baby is born who is in a trash bin. God works in mysterious ways. If you say that, it will seem that God is very unfair. Unless you bring in the element of karma and reincarnation, nobody can really explain suffering and injustice in this world. Right? And so this purport says that we are suffering because we are walking in the middle of a game. We are beginning at a particular scene in a movie, and the scene might be a very sad scene, but this movie has been going on for some time. And that this movie will also end, and the reason we are here is because we carry this subtle thing called karma. And if you looked at bumper stickers around America, karma is, and I will not finish that sentence. And Srila Prabhupada explains that when that particular type of reaction begins, that is called birth. So you enter a movie and you start witnessing that movie, and you go through the emotions of that movie, and then at one point that movie ends, and it is called death, and it is never that pleasant. Except for one situation where death is a pleasant experience. And I cannot say it from experience. I haven't been through that. But I can tell you what I witnessed. In 2017, November 6th, I was driving in Michigan. I didn't know what black ice was. You know what black ice is? Somebody who knows? You said, Prabhu, you know black ice. What is black ice?
It's on the road when there's ice and it gets mixed in with sludge and different dirt and stuff, and you can't really see it.
There is ice on the road and you don't really know there is ice on the road. Okay? So it rained, the temperature dropped, the road froze, I had no clue. I was driving as usual, and a possum was trying to cross the road, and I tried to slow down a little bit, and before I knew it, the car skid, hit the curb, hit a tree. I hit my head, I flashed, lost consciousness. I saw my life flashing in front of my eyes, and I thought, okay, this is it. Right? What do you do? And then when my consciousness came, I saw I was stuck inside a car and the doors wouldn't open. It was like, the locks were mangled. And somehow I got out. And here is why I keep deep faith in Sri Krishna. So I thought, okay, this is it. If this is how it ends, this is how it ends. So after I somehow realized that this is not the end, I was a little shaken, came out, and somebody came and started asking me, how many fingers? And I was like, who the heck is this? Long story short, I found out that my car had hit a tree at about 70 miles an hour. That's what the police said, that that's the kind of impact you probably have had. You're extremely lucky you're alive. And I had hit a tree outside a paramedic's house. Yeah. So I got, somehow it was my karma to experience that, I guess, I don't know. But Krishna, I believe, always takes care of his devotees. I hit a tree outside a paramedic's house. He came out. He was the one who was asking fingers and all that, making sure I was okay, right? And when I was okay, some weeks later, I went to go and thank him, that, thank you for. And he says, no problem, buddy. And this is what he said. He said, when I was 3 years old, I planted that tree. When I was 3 years old, I planted that tree that you hit. If I hadn't planted that tree, your car would be inside my house. And I would have been the one injured. So somehow I realized that even in accidents, there are no accidents. And our karma just plays out. But coming to Krishna consciousness means that karma stops functioning somewhere. And I actually remember asking this question to Jananivas Prabhu almost more than 20 years, 25 years back. I was in their room. Jananivas Prabhu and Pankaj Prabhu were both there, transcendental twins. And I asked that, I have taken initiation. Technically speaking, all my karma is gone. Why am I still suffering? And Pankaj Prabhu, he was reading some purport and he brought out, and he read that purport out to me. And he said, see, when, for devotees, it's not karma. Any last vestiges of anarthas that are there in the heart gets cleared by Krishna personally. They are not suffering karma anymore. Krishna is clearing out some of the last vestiges of anarthas so that Krishna can draw you back. So devotees are beyond karma, right? And that day I realized that karma happens only when you think you are the karta. In Sanskrit, there is a saying, karta, karma. Karta means doer and karma means action. So when we are this person or that person, then we can do karma. But the moment we become das, and we actually believe we are das, then there is no karma. Krishna is in control. Our karma has been washed away the moment we have come to Sri Krishna. And whatever difficulties we are experiencing is Sri Krishna cleansing our heart so that any desire for material enjoyment that brought us here in the first place gets cleaned up so that Krishna can pull us back. Right? So that is the end of the movie. After that, if the movie is a tragedy or a comedy, it doesn't matter. Because all is well that ends well. With that, I'll stop here today. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. If you have any, I would love to hear any realizations Jananivas Prabhu has, any instructions he has for us, any comments, questions, realizations for the next few minutes, and then we will call it a class.
Suffering from short-term memory loss. Short-term memory loss.
This is not working. Short-term memory loss. Yes, now it is working.
So I'm not functioning so well. I have a few bodily related diseases. Can't think very well. But thank you, I enjoyed your class very much.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in one of his Padavulis that Purva Smriti Parihari, that advancement in Krishna consciousness means all previous memories gradually get erased. It's transcendental Prabhu.
Anyone else?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The three options that you that people posed and you commented on. Perhaps there's a fourth option, which is which may reflect perhaps a mistaken philosophy that's worth addressing.
What is?
There's a fourth option of how to, regarding the phenomenon.
And I didn't catch the name of the philosophy you mentioned.
Excuse me?
What you said, some philosophy.
Oh, mistaken philosophy. There's a fourth option that someone may pose that may reflect a mistaken philosophy that you might find interesting to address.
Mistaken philosophy?
Yeah, I will, let me.
Yes.
The fourth option being, that was the preamble. The fourth option being that the person who is perceiving there to be a score of 2-1 before the game began is incorrect in his perception, perhaps because he cannot see, or he's mistaken that the game has not begun, or he is mistaken that he just arrived there. Various reasons why the one perceiving that is wrong.
Yes, that's a very good option actually, to realize that we don't know, right? We don't know for sure. Is that correct?
Yes. However, on the one hand, it suggests higher thinking. On the other hand, that that outlook without the guidance of higher authorities leads to like a Mayavad philosophy or a nihilistic philosophy, that everything is Maya and there's nothing beyond Maya, and there's any idea of reality you can never accurately prove that one understanding of reality is superior to another, and that's the ultimate nihilistic philosophy, which someone who propounds that, very difficult to convince them.
Yes, I understand. The first part of what you said is gold. To acknowledge that we don't really know. The second part, coming to that conclusion, has certain presuppositions that are very weak. But if we say we don't know, then we come to the most logical answer possible, and the most logical answer is we are walking in the middle of a game. Right? But thank you for that comment. Any more thoughts, comments? Yes, Prabhu.
Could you please repeat what was said earlier?
Said, a lot of things were said. Which one? Oh,
You'd like to hear what Jananivas Prabhu said.
Jananivas Prabhu was saying about memory loss. Right? And I said, there is a material side to memory loss, that it can be a physiological symptom. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that as one advances in Krishna consciousness, then there is a phase where he says Purva Smriti Parihari, that past memories gradually begin to get erased. Because now, as a living entity, gradually begins to enter the state of samadhi even while they are alive. It's called Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta means somebody who is physically alive in the material world, but actually they are liberated. So when somebody is liberated like that and they enter a state of samadhi, any samskaras that they might have carried for some time because of their birth gradually becomes erased. So memory becomes erased, and that kind of erasure of memory is, I said, transcendental. Yes, Prabhu. Huh? Does the soul feel pain? The soul doesn't. The soul mistakes the experience of pain. The pain happens to the body, the pain happens to one's mind. Pain also can sometimes happen to the intelligence. So if I give you bad logic, you will get disturbed. That is pain to the intelligence. If something is very dear to you and I take it away and you are attached and you don't feel good about it, that is pain to the mind. You trip on your way out of the door and your toe hurts, that is pain to the body. But it is the soul that is the center of the mind, intelligence and the body. The soul doesn't feel pain. The soul mistakes that I am this body, that's when there is the experience of pain. The soul is transcendental. Soul is Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means being, existence. Chit is cognizance, to know. And Ananda is always blissful. The soul, by nature, is always blissful. Something that is always blissful, how can it feel pain? Soul doesn't feel pain. The mistake that I am this body or I am my mind or I am these senses, that pain happens on that level. Yes?
Can you explain how there's transcendental pain, which is when it's actually pleasure, like separation?
No, that is not on the material or even the subtle platform. That pain is happening on the level of rasa. Right? So, for example, when Sri Krishna apparently leaves Brajabhumi, everybody is very distressed. That distress is on a transcendental realm. It is not a physical pain or a mental pain or even an emotional or intellectual pain. But that is a transcendental pain because that is in relation with Bhagavan, that is the natural condition of the living entity. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that this is Jaiva Dharma. Jaiva means, Jiva means living, right? Dharma means nature. So the nature of living is to love Krishna. And in loving Krishna, love is not, love is complicated. When we love in this world, there is pain. But that pain also goes away. There are people play a lot of heartbreak songs and then they get over it. In the spiritual world, you never get over it. It's an eternal experience. And some of our acharyas point out that Srimati Radharani, even when she is in the presence of Sri Krishna, she experiences separation because it's the most beautiful thing. Right? That is transcendental, that is not material. And that is not pain. That, the word aprakrito, translated into English as transcendental, has the root prakrito. Prakrito means material. Aprakrito means it looks like material, but it is something different. So pain is prakrito, material. Spiritual separation is aprakrito. It looks like material, but it is not material. It is transcendental, aprakrito. In fact, it is just the opposite. Okay, any last question? We have 1 minute to go. All right. You wanted to say something, Will? At the back? Yes. Can somebody pass on the microphone, please? Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Why does the soul try so hard to let go of material possessions?
Why does the soul try so hard to
not let go?
To take material possessions?
Yeah.
The reason is the soul can be in one of two states of existence, antarmukh or bahirmukh. Antarmukh means turned inwards and bahirmukh is turned outwards. When we are turned inwards, we realize our true nature and we become God conscious. When we turn outwards, then that relation somehow snaps and we try to compensate for the loss of that relation with so many other things. One example is a little child. Ready for this? A little child goes to a village fair. In that village fair, there are so many sweet shops and there is a merry-go-round and everything. This child is holding on to her father's hand. Papa, I want to go on the merry-go-round. I want this jalebi. I want that sweet. I want to, burst some balloons. Okay, and Papa sometimes gives the child something, sometimes say no. So one time this child lets go of father's hand because he really wants to go on the merry-go-round. And after going to the merry-go-round, he realizes that he doesn't have money in his pocket. So he turns around looking for his Papa, and Papa is missing. This child starts crying. Okay? And now the whole fair wants to give chocolate, merry-go-round, all of that. Will the child be happy? We are in this world like that child. We're looking for this and that because we let go of our father's hand. Okay? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.